Wow. Okay. So it's December 23rd, 2024, and we have returning guest, certified facilitator Maya Dayan joining us.
Hello. Oh
Hey.
my God, it's the last one for the year. How does it get any better?
Woohoo. Yep. Wow. Yeah, I'm ready to move forward definitely into 2025. How about you?
Yay, let's talk about the significance of moving forward to a new year.
My resolution.
Exactly. And, I mean, if it gives us a motivation or a mark to choose something new, so what the heck, let's use whatever we have available.
Well, it's funny because, almost this past month and then going into the next couple of months, people will go to the gym. And it's really funny. It's almost like a phenomenon because you see like there's no one in the gym, like crickets, and then all of a sudden it's packed. And it's like,
Mhm.
why? Okay, okay. Just
New Year's.
yeah. New Year's resolution for a couple months. Um, how's everything in Costa Rica? Is there like
Mm,
a class going on or
amazing. No, just out of the cold of Canada and even being here while the holidays are going on creates a different environment. Like there's not that sense of rush or anxiety or whatever people go through during the
or
holiday.
I would almost say like family obligation or whatever obligations that there are. It's funny, so when like um I was thinking of Mexico because a lot of people go to Mexico for the holidays, but I love Mexico and being there and even the music. I'm like, oh my God, like yesterday I was listening to, I don't know, the radio and whenever the music comes on, it just makes me so happy. So like, like to be in like a warm place where it's different would be so nice, but it's also like I don't know, for me, I guess it was sensing just the culture and the vibe of everything and just like feeling that, like feeling the vibe of like a different place other than America. But relationships, so I know so we do talk about relationships, and I think what came up for me recently was looking at, okay, so in relationships, um, I noticed how I was so aware of the other person's reality.
Mhm.
And that was like in regards to all the drama, all of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And I was like, oh, whoa. And it's so easy to take it on. But then if I looked at the fact that I left and stopped that relationship, um, it made it a whole lot easier to realize there was no need for any of the trauma drama or like the work to say, okay, I'm going to leave their universe and they can leave mine. Like there wasn't really much work to do except to know that I'm aware of what's going on for them. But for me, I had left instead of, how people hold on to things like, oh, I wish they were still here. Oh, there were good times. I was just like, wait, I left. Like I left a long time ago, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's like, I think that makes it a whole lot easier to just kind of like bypass all of like, or just acknowledge your awareness, but bypass all of those thoughts, feelings, and emotions, you know?
Right. Like you left the relationship before, energetically, before you actually broke up with the person. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I did. Well, the funny thing is like, wow, that's so funny, like energetically, like, oh, was I even ever in it?
Exactly.
That is so crazy. Like energetically, that's completely different. And then I wonder how much wrongness there is in actually leaving or breaking up.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, it's I mean, it's funny because I do a lot of 30-minute segments about relationship with different people, and always it just seems like it's such a huge topic. Like it's like, what do we talk about in 22 minutes about relationship? Because it's like there's so much to know and there's so much to like change with regards to the way that we learn to be with relationships. And there's a lot to, yeah, there's just so much material and there's so many tools. And we start where we start, right? So we're talking here about an ending of a relationship. And then you can look back and kind of see what was actually going on there just to give yourself more awareness for the next time or whatever that is. But it's like
Yeah.
you even started with when you're so aware of the other person. And just the other day I was doing a Facebook Live with Rachel Bryan and Sarah Grandinetti, and we were talking like, and Rachel was talking about how that starts with your initial relationships in life kind of thing, like how she was so aware of her mother's reality that she didn't even know what her reality is.
Mhm.
So we take on these roles in relationship. It doesn't really matter if it's a romantic relationship or a familiar or a friendship. Like we have different roles for different people, but it's like it takes us a journey to learn what we're doing and to learn if that still works for us and to learn new ways of being with people. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then I guess I was also looking at how relationship, like really, it is like a concept. Like it's this really huge concept of that's a huge one because like it's what like basically two people have their lives but trying to get together or like their points of views or the way things should be. And it's like when you take all that away and you don't have any points of views, it's like then what? So like what are you doing it for? Do you even want one? And kind of like what's the point? Like or not
Yeah.
what's the point, but it's like for what reason would you like a relationship? Is it
Yeah.
that you can't be alone or is it that it's the right thing to do?
Hmm.
Or is it that yeah, like you know, um yeah.
Totally. And in that sense, it always starts with us, like getting closer to us, getting to know us, having the five elements of intimacy with ourselves.
Mhm.
And it's always interesting because we think that if we do that, we're being selfish or we're against other people when we choose that. But actually, what if we are way more inclusive when we're closer to us? So,
Actually, yeah.
yeah.
Actually, it's so funny you mentioned that. Okay, so um I was looking because caring, like in a way of being the energy and like you know how they say take a look at if you care for a person, make it infinite. And then it's like, so this is in this exercise is in the How to Become Money workbook. And so it's like when you infinitely care for someone, does it get more substantial? And do you realize that you care more than you could ever know, basically? And
Right.
it's like, well, what if you had that for yourself? And I was like, so instead of, thinking logically, I was just like, okay, I'm going to take that exercise and be that for me. And it's funny because you don't have to think about it, but you can just be it. And guess what has been happening since I've been doing that? I love like touch. And so many people have been like, it's gonna sound funny, but like touching me, but in a way that's like kind and caring, like putting a hand on my shoulder, or this lady just kind of like grabbed my hand while she was telling me a story. And I was like looking at her and I was like, she's holding my hand. But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it happen.
Wow. Yeah. And it's not, I mean, that's a perfect example of when we let go of some need, but we're actually clear with something that gives us more of us, then it can just show up with ease in our lives, which is really awesome. Um, and also like because you started with leaving, like leaving, and when you have that energy, that you can't leave. Like you'll never leave you, and you're never really leaving another person unless, you don't actually have to talk to them or have them in your life in order not to leave them, like in the big energetic scheme of things. Like the separation is kind of disappears from our lives, what we define as separation, because we just don't need to do that anymore. Does it work with everybody? Not necessarily. We're all still learning to function from this new way of being. So again, it's like it's not a perfect journey at all. Like we do the fighting, do the, getting to know people, separating from, like we do all the things that are included in relationships as they are currently, but the journey can be so much more different the more you add those tools and energetic explorations like you were just describing, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's actually really beautiful the way you put it. Like you can never really separate because, well, one, like the awareness is just there. And I think I obviously have been reading Money Isn't the Problem You Are, but there's so much in there. It's not even just about money. So I think there's that part where um, there's the story where Dane was with a woman, and but the woman was like, I want to spend every day with you, every moment. I want to get to know you. We need to spend hours together, or like the night, or the weeks, or the forever together, whatever. And Dane's
Yeah,
like,
like you need to hold me all night kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. And Dane was kind of like, well, so he didn't need to quote unquote really get to know the person because he was willing to already know the person, like to be aware, to know them, and not
Mm.
necessarily have this reality relationship. And I guess where I'm going with this is like, if you know the person, like let's just say you were in a relationship, you got to know them, and it's like that question of if there were eight things that you could change about the person, will it actually change? Well, no, but it's like, how well do you already know that person? So you don't necessarily have to spend the rest of your life with them, the 24 hours a day, or the weeks or days or the night with them. It's not really required because, um, like it's like how aware are you and how willing are you to already know the person before, yeah.
It's also interesting because you mentioned like how conceptual relationships are, and it's such a good thing to look at also in the sense of like the more you get to know you and what works for you, like the less you have to deal with the concepts of relationship, and then you can actually choose what works for you. Kind of like when you were giving the example of the touchy, and um, recently we were at a class and the facilitator was like, I really hate cuddling. And, she says it with so much lightness and just kind of recognition of who she is and what works for her. And there's no wrongness. What if it's not wrong? Like, and so that's where the exploration begins of like, okay, if there were no concepts of relationships that I'm supposed to follow or fulfill or do it right, then what would I choose and what would it look like? Because it's can trap us a lot, and we keep have that's why we keep asking questions, because again we just get trapped because it surrounds us, it's in the media, it's in the social media, it's on the television, like it's everywhere that there's these concepts of what it's supposed to look like, and then if you're not living that fulfillment you always feel wrong about yourselves versus like having that exploration that nobody can give you except you. So
Well, it's
let's talk
interesting.
about a resolution, like what would actually work for me in relationships, without having any of those set fixed points that are a relationship and the ideal world.
Whoa, there's so much that comes up with that because it's almost like how many people do the opposite of what they would actually like? How many people aren't willing to do or look at what would actually work for them? And why not just like really be honest and real with yourself and be like, hmm. And then, or even play with it for every 10 seconds. And I would recommend like being present and also playing with yourself, which is funny. No, but like, but like getting like to
In
know
all the
yourself.
ways.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. No.
Very good.
Um, but it's like when you get to know yourself, but to also be able to be real with yourself, you can be like, oh, okay, I'd like this. Like for me, oh, another thing that was coming up is, um, so I was like being real and kind of looking at, oh, what was really fun was when I had submissive people in my life and around me. And so
Mm,
I actually put that out there and I was like, okay, I'm like looking for someone submissive because it's just what works. And like, I'm still getting messages. But then the funny thing is when you're real with yourself and an abundance of people shows up, I'm like,
yeah.
is this true? Like, what do I really, really want? Because it's like,
Right.
yeah, it's all flowing in, and I'm like, maybe it's that plus, and what else? Because it's like I'm not even choosing it.
Right. Which is cool. I mean, that's part of the exploration. Like, I think a lot of times, even this year, it wasn't in the relationship realm, but I chose a lot of things that I was like, I work and travel and all these things, but then you're like, okay, there's a dream, there's a concept of what that looks like, and then when it actually shows up, it's like, oh, okay, now you get to fine tune. Does this actually work for me? Does it actually work for me to travel for so long? Like you just get to keep correcting course, but you ask and you receive, and then you realize, is this really what I'm asking for? Which is cool. Like most of the time, we're kind of like, I'm not even gonna play. I'm not even gonna try. I'm not, like that non-participation, so we don't get out of our roles, so we don't do something wrong, so we don't ask for something like I like submissive people. Yeah, like that's part of getting out of judgment of you and really be willing to ask for anything kind of thing,
Yeah, it was
which
so
is
funny.
amazing.
It was so funny when you're like, yeah, to not even play. I was like, yeah, physically, like the choice to physically do that.
Totally.
But it also gave me a lot of awareness of people. Like, so when you start to play with awareness, and really see what things are, I think the fun in this was seeing like kind of who was telling the truth and if people are actually willing to be and go there. But I noticed a lot of people were just saying things. And I was like, well, this isn't even true. But even though like tons of people were showing up, I was like, wow, there's a lot of like lies here or like facades or faux beingnesses. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, which is part of like what I was mentioning before, because nobody taught us to live with consciousness and awareness. So
Yeah.
even for us, for me, for you, like how many years did you just go through kind of sorting through what's true, what's a lie, what lies were you functioning from? Like, it's a journey.
It is, yeah. Well, I mean, like, so back to like the caring part, like, and like in caring, there's like kindness, and then it's also with kindness, it's giving people what they can receive and just being aware. But it's like that energy that I'm doing with the caring part, it doesn't come with really a point of view. It's more like that being of energy. So it's been pretty cool because what I did for the longest time was I just had it all jumbled up and I just didn't like it was almost like an energetic um like misconception where I was like I didn't really know, oh, like caring is this energy, and then like I thought that it was almost like heavy, but it's actually just not. It's just a different energy. Whereas heavy and lies, there's a huge distinction between that, like with the energetics of it. Like anyways, I had for the longest time, I thought that lightness had to feel like literally almost like the bankruptcy of energy and the giving. So I
Mm,
thought, Karen, okay, this is gonna sound funny. I thought I didn't really know the energy of caring, but I just kind of didn't have that for myself. But what I thought I had to have was that lightness of energy, which was the flow of bankrupting myself of energy, which drained me and led me to the wrong relationships. Now that I'm like, quote unquote, caring for myself or having that energy for myself, it's different. Like a lot of people are coming around and like being happy and nice and smiling and talking. And I'm like, oh,
That is so awesome. And yeah, how much did we grow up in each our own way and culture of like giving, giving, giving in a way that depletes you versus like um when we learn that motion of caring, it's also very different than doing the opposite of giving. Like a lot of times initially we'll be like, I will do the opposite, which then also creates depletion. But when you are actually willing to fill yourself from that space of no inclusion, that's when the energy flow is so much more expansive. So it's, and again, it's not wrong. Like a lot of times when we learn, oh, I've been doing this for so long, then we might go the flip side, which is it's okay. But it's like the more you get to a space of gifting and receiving, the more your life grows, basically.
yeah, yeah. And that's where almost like that, I
And it,
think that
yeah,
hmm,
the gifting and receiving starts with you.
the gifting, yeah, no kidding. Whereas like, it's funny, like, um, the gifting and receiving versus the like some people, people it's coming up where people need to exchange gifts or it's Christmas and it's like how many people get tied up with that where it's like significant to get a present, but then because I looked at, how many because I buy presents for my family, but I was like, whoa, how many years did I spend so much money and I still thought it was not enough? How much material comes in and how significant is that made? Or is there any gratitude when there's a present received? And I looked at that and I was like, wow, like, maybe what if one year I could just show up and then like not have to, spend the money or have the take like the give and take energetic or obligation, what makes things more peaceful with the gifting and receiving energetically without having to worry financially.
Well, and if I would take it to a wider question and not, without the conclusions, it would be like if there was no obligation, what would I choose here? And if um, I would be gifting them exactly what they could receive, what would I gift? Like more actually looking into the person's world, then what would show up? Like there are no answers here, but
Yeah, that's cool. I'm like, I think I did a good job. Because I did kind of do that. I was like, huh, like what could I gift thoughtfully? This year, it was thoughtful because I was like, because typically what happens is last moment at the end of the last day, I'm like running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But this time I was like present walking into the mall and being like, okay, where's this space? Like where am I going? What am I getting? What could be an actual contribution and thoughtful. So,
that's amazing.
yeah.
It reminds me of there's an exercise in the How to Become Money workbook when you flow money to the taxi driver and you just keep flowing and flowing and flowing until you feel that the energy keeps flowing into the back, and it's the more you do it, the more it's there to show you there's a sense of like there's it never nothing will ever lack or end or there's always more.
Mhm.
But yeah, like when you're actually gifting with the energy of gratitude, or when you're shopping with the energy of gratitude, when you're giving money to a clerk with the energy of gratitude, those are the ripples. Like it's such small actions, but they accumulate to us having a more present life, which is a big part of changing our relationships, which is where we started with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny how much like I definitely need to get my bars run because I haven't had them run for a while. But like it's funny how like for hopes and dreams, I would hope that everybody is happy in their relationships and it's perfect and it all works out. And then in reality, it's like I hope they're happy, but they don't look happy. You know, that perfect relationship.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And what if for the new year, the wish could be that just each person finds more of that relationship with themselves, and through that, what gift can they, you, me be to the world?
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
say.
Yeah, New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
But it, yeah, I think that's a great note to end on and to send people off with that, gift and the miracle in finding themselves. So,
Yep. Merry
thank you.
Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you in the new year.
Bye bye.